To government ministers commenting on anti-vaccine mandate protests.
The actions of these protesters continue to inflict such disruption in your neighborhoods. The RCMP, the Parliamentary Protective Services, and other federal partners have remained in close contact with the Ottawa Police Service, and we continue to play a significant coordination role between these agencies. But let me be clear, it is not the role of any government to direct law enforcement operations. It is the responsibility of the police of jurisdiction, and in this case, the Ottawa Police Service, to maintain public order and to uphold the rule of law. They must have the appropriate resources, and they do have the appropriate tools and authorities that they require to keep their communities safe. And in circumstances where the events exceed the capacity of the police service to respond as they are required to do, there are well-established authorities for the police to seek assistance. And as the federal government, we are here to provide support to local police, and we have responded affirmatively to every request for assistance that we have received to help strengthen the Ottawa Police Service's ability to protect the people of Ottawa. There has been also ongoing work among all of our federal departments to ensure that we are mobilizing all of the resources that are required and requested by the province of Ontario and the city of Ottawa to provide every support that is required. Yesterday, as many of you are aware, the city of Ottawa declared a state of emergency. And in response to this, the federal government is proposing to convene a trilateral table with municipal and provincial partners. I've reached out today to the Solicitor General for the province of Ontario and to the Mayor of Ottawa to convene a table that will allow us to keep lines of communication open during what is a fluid and dynamic situation and to respond with speed and efficiency to meet the city's needs. Let me be very clear, however, that this is simply building upon the active and ongoing conversation, collaboration, and coordination that has taken place on every political level between our respective officials and will allow us to keep these lines of communication open. There has been open and active engagement from our senior public officials, the provincial senior public officials, and the city of Ottawa to provide support. We also know that there is close communication and collaboration between the municipal police services, provincial police services, and the RCMP. I would now like to take the opportunity to address those individuals who are still participating in this event. Many of the actions that have taken place over the course of this demonstration have been unlawful and, frankly, disrespectful to the rights and freedoms of all Canadians. It is well past the time to bring this protest to an end. Canada is a peaceful nation, and we often serve as an example of hope to countries around the world. And we look after our neighbors and we treat each other with respect in this country. We do not threaten or intimidate our fellow citizens. We do not desecrate the National War Memorial. We don't dishonor statues dedicated to national heroes. And we do not tolerate individuals who wave flags riddled with symbols of hate and discrimination. The freedom to engage in lawful, peaceful assembly and protest is a fundamental charter right. However, when an event is no longer peaceful, when the event is disrupting the lives and jeopardizing the livelihoods of fellow Canadians, local residents have been harassed for wearing masks, business owners have been forced to close out of concern for the safety of their staff, families with young children haven't been able to sleep due to the constant honking of horns. And this, frankly, needs to end. The last 2 years have been incredibly difficult for every single Canadian. The pandemic has impacted the mental health of Canadians in every part of the country. We've missed birthdays, holidays, and celebrations with family and with friends. We've had to say goodbye to far too many loved ones over video calls, and people have felt alone, isolated, and scared. We all want this pandemic to be over. We have all made sacrifices, and we want to return to normal as quickly as possible, and we will get there. But the way forward is not by infringing upon the freedom and rights of your fellow Canadians. It's by getting vaccinated. It's by doing your part to protect yourself and your community. I want to assure the people of Ottawa that we will continue to support the City of Ottawa and the Ottawa Police Service in their work as the police of jurisdiction. And I would like to extend my gratitude as well to all of the police services that are assisting in this effort. Thank you all very much. And I'd now invite my colleague, Minister Mendicino, to say a few words.
Thank you, Bill. Bonjour tout le monde, and I too would like to recognize that I'm joining you virtually from the Indigenous territories of the Algonquin people. Over the past weekend, a number of demonstrations took place across the country. Some were carried out peacefully and in accordance with the law, And this is thanks to local law enforcement, as well as residents and businesses who showed patience, understanding, and respect for the rule of law during those protests. The people of Ottawa, however, have had to endure significant disruption to their daily lives as a result of the ongoing convoy here. There have been numerous incidents of intimidation, harassment, violence, and hate. Many residents have been effectively held hostage in their own city, blockaded by an angry, loud, intolerant, and violent crowd. While everyone believes in the right to free speech, this convoy has crossed the line of acceptable conduct towards fellow Canadians many, many times. Now, there has been some progress over the last 12 hours, and there needs to be more progress and more quickly. I want to commend Ottawa Police Services for stepping up enforcement. Over 500 tickets laid, charges laid, criminal investigations ongoing, structures are coming down, and this is being done safely and respectfully. In the weeks that follow, we'll need to be really clear that we can't find ourselves in a similar situation again. We're also very concerned about the ongoing situation at the Coots border crossing in Alberta, where a group of blockaders continues to impede access with important linkages to the United States. We are grateful to the work of the CBSA, the RCMP, and other officials to ensure that those lines of supply continue to flow. I want to be clear that there should be no differences across political parties in the way that we are dealing with this moment. It would be a terrible precedent to say that if you show up to the nation's capital with heavy equipment and blockade the capital city, that you can force reckless change in our public policy. It's been surprising that some who say they believe in law and order seem not to get this point. Mais pour l'instant, voici que nous faisons pour soutenir la vie.
What are we doing to support police services in Ottawa? They're responsible for local law enforcement efforts. The federal government will support Ottawa police services. As the situation evolves, the RCMP has approved additional resources. Following my call with Mayor Watson, I can confirm that the RCMP has received and approved requests for additional resources. Following our requests this weekend, other officers were made available. Since Sunday, more than 275 RCMP officers have been made available for Ottawa. The RCMP is discussing with the SPO, the SPA, and other police services to evaluate next steps in terms of its support based on the evolving situation. I am requesting operational updates throughout the events and daily reports on the situation. We will ensure that we can restore public order. I have been discussing with my provincial counterparts, and I've also spoken with Ontario's Minister Jones, Minister Kenny, and the Minister in Alberta. I've also spoken with Mayor Watson in Ottawa.
The COVID-19 pandemic is approaching its second anniversary in Canada. We all want to see a return to normal life and a responsible evidence-based easing of the guidelines and protocols. And I assure you that day is coming soon. Canadians have been incredibly united and have persevered through it all. The approach our government offered is about using science and good faith efforts to protect ourselves and one another. Because people have chosen this path. Thousands of lives have been saved. And we cannot allow an angry crowd to reverse a course that continues to save lives in this last stretch. This should never be a precedent for how to make policy in Canada. We believe in peace, order, and good government in Canada. The stories from communities across the country of people sticking together, looking after one another, and giving back have somehow made this year a little bit easier. But we can't give up on each other now. More than ever, we need to support one another, to work side by side, regardless of level of government or party stripe, to take care of one another. Canadians deserve to feel safe in their communities, and no one is above the law. Thank you. Merci.
Good afternoon. I want to start off by thanking Canadian truckers. They continue to deliver for Canadians during these challenging times. I continue to meet with truckers and various representatives and hear their input. Je continue de discuter avec des
I'm continuing to discuss with the organizations and their leaders.
Last week, I met with truckers in Mississauga and in Alberta. Last Monday, representatives of the trucking industry participated in the Supply Chain Summit, offering important feedback about how to address real challenges faced by the industry. This morning, I met with the Canadian Trucking Alliance, where we had a constructive conversation about addressing the industry's needs and priorities. They all told me this occupation does not represent Canadian truckers. They also all said that in Canada, this is not how we raise concerns and advocate for policies. These blockades and occupations need to end. Unlawful activities are not the way to offer meaningful involvement in government policy development. In addition to engaging the industry, I've also been working with my provincial counterparts. Je travaille avec mes collègues de province.
I'm working with my provincial counterparts on this.
Saturday, I met with my Alberta counterpart, Minister Sawney, where we exchanged ideas and I offered on behalf of the federal government our support. I'm also looking forward to be speaking with Minister Mulroney on how we can work together. The provinces have extensive regulatory powers over commercial trucking and road transportation to help end this unlawful occupation and disruptions of commercial trucks blockading the streets and highways. These powers could include, for example, quickly enforcing the provisions of the Ontario Highway Safety to begin suspending commercial licenses and also insurance of commercial owners of the equipment blockading the streets days on end in a city or on a highway. It's clear. Blockades of streets and bridges is against the law and should bring serious consequences for the owners. I would also encourage the province of Ontario to draw on lessons learned from other provinces on how to use their road safety authorities to contain unlawful activities by commercial trucks. We saw Quebec successfully do this last weekend with the roadside safety inspections of trucks traveling to blockades. I want to assure Canadians that we hold our sacred responsibilities to protect their health and safety and protect our economy seriously. We will continue to be guided by the best advice to manage the pandemic. And as the situation evolves, we will adjust our posture, as I am sure provincial and territorial governments will. We are all tired of COVID-19, but we must remain vigilant and take advice from our doctors and public health experts. Nous devons rester vigilants.
We must remain vigilant.
Now I'd like to pass the mic to my friend Dominic LeBlanc.
Merci beaucoup, Omar.
And thank you, Omar.
Les événements qui ont toujours lieu à Ottawa ont
The events continuing
profondément
to take place in Ottawa have profoundly shocked all
Depuis le
Canadians.
début de cette crise,
Since the outset of this crisis, our government has been working in close collaboration with our partners, both at the provincial and municipal levels. We are attempting to identify their needs, and we would also like to identify how the federal government can provide support.
Continue to be, along with my cabinet colleagues, in contact with mayors and premiers from across the country. Our government is confident that the City of Ottawa and the Province of Ontario have the tools and the jurisdiction to best respond to this crisis. We will continue to liaise with our provincial and municipal partners to put an end to this unacceptable situation, and as always, stand ready, as Minister Blair said, to provide any appropriate assistance available. Alors avec ça, je tourne la parole maintenant à mon collègue.
Now I would like to turn the floor over to my colleague.
Merci, Dominique. Hello, and thank you all for joining us today. Et bonjour, merci pour votre présence. Au nom des résidents, des familles, des travailleurs,
on behalf of the workers and residents, community organizations in Ottawa Centre and the entire National Capital Region, I would like to repeat that we have had enough.
Our residents, workers, and businesses are suffering. Our small businesses and community organizations have shown incredible resilience throughout this pandemic. Our essential services have stood strong through lockdowns and safety measures and have helped us keep residents safe. We are here to let you know we stand with you and we will continue to have your back. In the past days, I have had numerous conversations with Mayor Watson. I have also spoken at lengths with city councillors, representatives of local BIAs, business, and community leaders. I have been engaged with concerned businesses, residents, and organizations through countless phone calls, emails, and text messages. They have shared firsthand with me the disruptions to their livelihood and well-being. Nos résidents méritent de se sentir en sécurité.
Our residents deserve to feel safe in their communities. At this time and for the last 10 days, my community's rights have been restricted, and that needs to stop. I would like to thank my colleagues for their attendance here today, for your collaboration since the very beginning of this situation. I would also like to thank my colleagues in the region and the National Capital Region. They have understood and helped with the difficulties surrounding the convoy.
We'll always support the right to peaceful protest in Canada, but we will also always condemn violence and threats. And from what we are witnessing on the ground and hearing from residents, this is the furthest thing from a peaceful protest. We call on the protesters to stop and respect the communities we represent. Merci, et je passe la parole à mon collègue d'Ottawa Centre.
I'm going to pass it off to my colleague from Ottawa Centre.
Thank you, Minister. Good afternoon. No words can accurately describe the agony of what my community has gone through. For residents of downtown Ottawa, this continues to be a horrific experience. C'est une expérience horrible. From what my community has seen in the past 11 days, the protesters' actions has not been peaceful or lawful. Members of my community have been harassed because of their skin color, yelled at for wearing masks, subjected to hurtful and racist symbols, torturous honking, and their accounts of assaults. Parking lots have been used as urinals. Fireworks are being hurled down the streets every night. And over the weekend, there was an attempt to light on fire an apartment building. My heart goes out to the residents of downtown Ottawa who have demonstrated incredible resiliency, patience, and strength. We welcome the enhanced enforcement and the mayor's decision to declare a state of emergency. It has to continue until all the residential streets of downtown Ottawa are freed of illegally parked trucks and restored back to what they were before so that people can live peacefully again. This has gone on too long. Residents are not unable to sleep. Workers and businesses remain once again severely impacted. Il est temps que cela cesse.
It's time for this to stop. Our community deserves to live in peace.
I'm glad to see further collaboration between all levels of government. We must work together to put an end to this protest and protect our community. Thank you. Merci.